So after technical difficulties prevented us from giving you last week's show, we are back with a vengeance here on the C&J Speedway Review. My name is Chris Burns from the Loki and Jabroni Show. You already know where to find us. I don't have to give you all that information again. On the other side of the screen is the prisoner that I love to death. His name is Corey Huffnagel, fresh out of prison 3 weeks ago. Corey, how are you, my man?
Well, hello, Chris. I had a really good couple days off on Memorial Day weekend, and for those of you guys who don't know, I had a little bit of a go-karting event this past weekend, and all I can just say was, my winning streak came to an end. I won 3 straight races, and I ended up losing the final one. And by the way, which I did 4 races thanks to Group 1, which I really love so much. But anyways, Charlotte, it was a fun weekend. Not only last weekend, but pretty much this weekend, didn't really disappoint us quite a bit. And, all I could just say is, Kyle Busch, he put a whooping on Sunday night. And all I could just tell you right now, we're already looking at a championship review between Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick in November.
Without question. And we'll get into that when we talk about the Coca-Cola 600. Really quick, we tried to lead off the show with it last week before the audio dropped, and we weren't able to give you a show. We wanted to talk to you guys about the NASCAR Hall of Fame inductees. We had Jeff Gordon leading the charge, leaps and bounds. Roger Penske, Jack Roush, Alan Kulwicki, and Davey Allison. That's your crew. And with the legacy/legend/hero gimmick is Jim Hunter, who is a very deserving candidate, worked for NASCAR since its inception. Jiminy Christmas. I'm tripping over my own lips right now. But Jim Hunter, very deserving candidate. 15 seconds or less on each candidate. Actually, let me go this route. 25 seconds or less on each candidate. Give me the reasons why they should be in the Hall of Fame, all 5.
I'd probably say, with Jeff Gordon, easy ballot, no question about it. Roger Penske, Jack Roush, those guys, easy ballots. They've won races, they've won championships, they've won IndyCar championships, Indy 500s with Penske. Kulwicki, good pick. Even though he was the first team owner / driver to win a championship, pretty much beating the odds in '92. Davey Allison, even though he won the Daytona 500, I still say, he deserves to get in the Hall of Fame without question.
If I could do the same, Jeff Gordon, 4 championships, 93 wins. There's no taking it away from him. Jack Roush, couple championships, bazillion wins. Roger Penske, same thing. Alan Kulwicki, we don't know where his career would have gone, but he did reach that first ever owner-driver plateau in 92 as the champion. Davey Allison is really the only one I throw a flag on. However, I had a week to think about it, and I'm softening my stance. I think Davey Allison's a great addition to the Hall of Fame. He's one of those guys that career cut short too soon. Could he have stopped the Earnhardt dominance in the late 80s, early 90s, and beyond when Earnhardt was winning multiple championships and then Gordon won multiple championships? We don't know. Davey Allison was on the fast track to fame, and what a great pick. This is probably, in my opinion, the most successful, on all levels, successful Hall of Fame nomination and induction that we've ever had for the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
Oh, without question. All I could just say is I can't wait until next year who the nominees are going to be. And, there is a rumor that, next year, Tony Stewart and Carl Edwards and Greg Biffle, those guys will all be ballots for the Hall of Fame. And all I can just say is, with Stewart being the nominee next year, he's going to be a first ballot, no question about it. And then, of course, it's not only like when it comes by like race wins and like results and stuff, it's pretty much like, what did you do for the sport, and so forth. But yeah, anytime like you look at all their stats and so forth, like, yes, one gets in, but then you have to decide which of the other 4 have to get in. And it sometimes could be a really tough pick as well.
Sure, absolutely. And when you talk about Tony Stewart, 3 Cup championships, dozens and dozens of wins, but then he went on, one of those championships was driver owner, and then he fields a team that was the 2014 champion in Kevin Harvick, and right now he stands with 2 drivers in the championship run right now with Kevin Harvick and Clint Boyer.
Yeah.
There's no arguing his success. Carl Edwards, I seriously think he retired too soon. I think if situations were different last year, this year, you'd see Carl Edwards up front battling each and every week. You'd see Carl Edwards taking home some of these races that Kevin Harvick, that Kyle Busch have taken home, because Carl Edwards is one of those guys from Wisconsin that the fastest qualifier starts in the back and you work your way up.
Mm-hmm.
So Carl Edwards, fantastic pick. Greg Biffle being rumored to be in that running. Oh God, that's part of the Davey Allison argument. Never won a championship, but good granny, you always worried about that 16 car coming up out of nowhere and stealing a win. And there were several wins that Greg Biffle just went out and dominated the competition and took those wins. I was at a few of those races, and I would just say to people, G-Biff is just owning things today. He took wins away from a lot of guys who may have had the best car, but he had the best strategy. And that's what it takes in NASCAR. You have to have not only one of the best cars, you have to have one of the best strategies. That's where the 18 is doing it this year. That's where the 4 is doing it this year. And that's where the 16 did it for years and years and years. I would not throw a flag on Greg Biffle for the Hall of Fame. Absolutely not.
Well, let's just remember this. Greg Biffle has won championships in Xfinity and the Truck Series. And, it's actually funny. So here's a little trivia question for you. So how did Greg Biffle ever get into NASCAR?
I have no honest clue, but I know that when he did, he just lit it up.
Well, this is actually a true story. So there was one time, this was like back in like the mid to late 90s or something. So he was racing in a winter heat one time. And there was a time, on ESPN where they usually cover like the winter heat races, like,
Sure.
the late models and so forth. Well, sure enough, the late Benny Parsons was talking with Jack Roush, and he told him, you got to look at this kid named Greg Biffle. I think he's a really good driver. He's really talented. I think he can win races. And then sure enough, a few years later, Biffle goes to Roush in the Truck Series. And I'd say his first full year, didn't really do that great. He was kind of like Stenhouse almost. Like, he was running up near the front, but he was crashing a lot of trucks. And then 99, won a couple races, almost won the championship that year. And then 2000 wins the championship. Moves up to Xfinity, which was then Busch in 2001, wins Rookie of the Year. A year later, wins a championship. Then he goes up to the Cup level in 2003, and then from there on, he was winning races and so forth.
One of the things about Biffle, and to close this out, one of the things about Biffle, he was never far from the front. Yes, everybody has their problems, as we're going to talk about when we talk about the Memorial Day race in Charlotte. Everybody has their problems. Greg Biffle seemed to avoid problems until the last year of his career.
Yeah.
When there was a big wreck, you always saw the 16 weave through it. Greg Biffle was one of those guys where I can look at and say, I like him. He wasn't my favorite, but I always, if Greg Biffle won the race that I was at and it happened 3 times, I was never upset. Whereas if I go to a race and Kyle Busch wins or Jimmy Johnson wins or Joey Logano, those are the 3, I'm like, you know what? There's $300-400 wasted. Not that it's wasted. It's always great to see NASCAR live wherever you go. It's disappointing when you see somebody you really don't like and or respect win a race. But Greg Biffle, when Greg won, I was not upset. He really does embody the heart and determination of NASCAR, much like Mark Martin did, who is a Hall of Famer. Never won a Cup. He never won the Cup.
Yeah.
He won championships on lower levels, but Mark Martin deserves it just like Greg Biffle does. That's where I'm going to end the Greg Biffle discussion.
Absolutely.
Okay, so real quick, we're going to talk about the week before this one where Johnny Sauter won the Cup race. Everything was fantastic. I'm just going to, if I can bring my, I don't have the list. Well, I'm not going to do that. Basically, Corey won the average finish and everything. Doesn't matter. We're not going to talk about it. But Johnny Sauter comes home with the Cup race, and Kevin Harvick, with a very convincing, he won 3 out of the 4 stages, wins the All-Star race. The Kevin Harvick Appreciation Tour rolled on last week. Unfortunately, I'm here to tell you that's not the case this week, but we are going to start right now with the Xfinity race. Corey, tell them where we already know it's in Charlotte. Tell them the name of the race, and then I'm going to break down the finishing order.
So the Xfinity guys were racing at Charlotte Motor Speedway this past Saturday for the Allsco 300. Brad Keselowski ended up winning the race from the pole. Again, third win of the season for the Penske driver in the 22 car. And honestly, all I could just say is, you look at this race, yes, the Cup guys were back in action this weekend, the first time in a really long time. And but other than that, I thought it was a really good race. It looked as if Kyle Busch, was going to take home the win. He won the first two stages. Unfortunately, he got into a little bit of a wreck on his own, which he pretty much made a mistake. And what happened was he tried to make it 3 wide going down, in the turn one. And unfortunately, he hit that grass. And then once he hit the grass, he just spun out and, took himself out from there on out. And although there was, a little bit of a rain delay, like right near the end, and this is when I thought, okay, they're going to probably call the race and so forth. But sure enough, it was a passing shower. They got everything out A-okay, and, they finished all like 204 laps, considering the fact that the race went to overtime. But other than that, it was a great race. I was, kind of, a little bit decent with the finish. But other than that, I thought it was good for the 22 team.
Absolutely. And watching the 40-second highlight video of the race, wasn't home, couldn't watch the race, not a big deal. It seemed like Brad Keselowski had the race from beginning to end. Kyle Busch did put up a good fight. I also saw Cole Custer and Christopher Bell put up a hell of a fight. But what stuck out to me the most, seriously, was Ty Dillon. He was always in the hunt, but never good enough to go forward. So for Ty, as a Cup driver who is running the Xfinity Series on a limited basis, what a great run for him, because as we'll talk about, Ty Dillon didn't have the best Charlotte race on the Cup Series. He's a full-time Cup driver.
Yeah.
It was a great race for him. He's not my happy. We'll get into that in a minute. But seriously, on that Xfinity race, Ty Dillon really showed me something. So real quick, I'm going to break down the top 10, some notables, then we'll go into our happies and sads, and then we'll get our average finish for the week. So as Corey already mentioned, Brad Keselowski comes home in first place. Cole Custer comes home in second. Christopher Bell third. Ty Dillon fourth. Elliott Sadler continuing his strong run in fifth. Ryan Truex sixth. Daniel Hemrick seventh. Kyle Busch in eighth. Matt Tifton ninth. And 10th goes to Kaz Grala. Other notables are Chase Briscoe in 11th, Michael Annett in 12th. We got Brandon Jones in 15th, Austin Cindric in 16th. Front row Joe Nemechek comes in 18th. And going down the list till I find the next notable is Justin Allgaier in a very disappointing 32nd. Corey, what was your happy and what was your sad in this race?
So my happy in this race, and and this is pretty much a good one. So my happy is definitely have to be Kaz Grala, because you think about this. He starts off the season driving for JGL Racing. Next thing you know, he gets let go because lack of sponsorship and whatnot. So now he's driving with this race team called Fury Race Cars. Never even heard of this team before. They've never even been on the track. They haven't even done like one race. And to come out with a top 10 finish, I thought that was really impressive. And I'm really interested to see what this race team can do from now until all the way to Homestead in November. And keep this in mind, when we get to the road courses in August, let's not forget, Kaz Grala is a really good road racer, and we'll probably see, Grala and Cindric, battle it out, whether we go to Mid-Ohio and Road America and Watkins Glen. I mean, I think it's going to be a really great show, just like how those two guys duked it out at Canada last year in the trucks.
Absolutely. And let's remind Eddie Focus, producer, that on the Xfinity Series, much like this year on the Cup Series, 3 times are we going to be able to turn right and left. I don't want to hear another word out of producer Eddie Focus, who we will mention toward the end of the show once again for a reason that maybe not a lot of you know about.
Okay.
Continuing on.
And then also, my sad definitely has to be Chase Elliott. First race in the 23 car for GMS, and it looked as if he was going to have a good run, and then unfortunately, the transmission broke in the car, and then that pretty much took him out of contention. But honestly, all I could just say is best to watch out for that 23 car, whenever Elliott's driving, because I think he could steal a win, sometime soon, whenever he's in his next race and so forth.
That's a great point. My happy obviously goes to Cole Custer. Second place finish behind a Cup driver is nothing to sneeze at. Once again, I'm really, again, if you've watched this show ever, you'll know I'm not a fan of the Cup drivers going to the Xfinity Series and racing against the up-and-comers. Not a fan. But when you battle with a guy like Brad Keselowski, former Cup champion, multiple-time winner, you are a winner, technically. You're not going to come home with a participation trophy or anything like that, but you've done something. You have a little something that you can take with you and say, you know what? I battled a former Cup champion right down to the limit. I finished second. No shame in it. My sad has to go to another championship contender. It has to go to Justin Allgaier, finishing 32nd. What a bad day for this guy. Problems asunder for Justin Allgaier. Tell the people what Justin Allgaier went through.
Yeah, he had a wreck. I believe it was 20 laps to go when he got up with Jamie McMurray and Daniel Hemrick. And all I could just say is, Hemrick, he had a good run too, and unfortunately he got caught up in that crash as well. But yeah, you look at Allgaier. I mean, another straight week, where he gets caught up in a wreck or gets in like a bad finish. But then let's not forget this. He won at Dover a couple weeks ago. The next thing NASCAR pretty much said, okay, you failed post-race inspection, so now your win doesn't qualify you into the playoffs. So at this point, he has to win a race, otherwise he's not going to make it into the playoffs in September.
Oh, he'll get another win. That's just, I don't know what you want to call it, but there's a certain kismet, karma, whatever. Hemrick will find his way to victory lane again.
Oh, there's no question.
Oh, yeah. So let's break down the top 10 in points, and we'll go to the alsos that are contending. Elliott Sadler continues to lead the way in first with 433. Christopher Bell second, 385. Tyler Reddick third at 378. Daniel Hemrick, we just mentioned him, 376 in fourth. Cole Custer in fifth, 371. Justin Allgaier sixth, 356. Brandon Jones seventh, 343. Ryan Truex eighth with 316. Matt Tiff ninth with an even 300. And Spencer Gallagher rounds out the top 10 with 277. You have Ryan Reed in 11th with 260, and Austin Cindric rounds out the top 12 with 240. It's a 12-car chase, if you want to use that particular vernacular, for the Xfinity Series. So let's give you the alsos. Michael Annette's in 13th with 221. Ross Chastain, 14th, 219. Ryan Sieg, 15th with 208. Kaz Gralla, we're still waiting for Kaz to get to victory lane. He's going to do it. 183 in 16th. Garrett Smithley, 179, 17th. John Hunter Nemechek, who I don't believe is in the running for the Xfinity Championship.
No.
18th at 174. And Joey Gase, 19th, 174. The championship run for those top 12 is starting to form, and you're starting to see that there are the contenders and there's the also-rans. Michael Annett is one of those guys that I'm seeing that could be a spoiler. He finished 12th this past weekend, and he is sitting right now in 13th. He could be a guy that could spoil the party for someone else. What do you think?
See, I really think it is possible, but you look at Michael Annette's average finish. I mean, right now it's only like 16th or so, but then you look at his results this year. Not really like the best. I mean, his only best finish this year would have to be 13th at Las Vegas. But I probably look at the points right now, and I mean, considering the fact you cross off, Spencer Gallagher on the list, I really think this is it. I really think these are the guys that are going to battle it out for the Xfinity Championship in in September. But let's not be clear on this. We could see a surprise winner. Because
Sure.
let's say like we go down to Daytona, and a lot of the big contenders get caught up in a big wreck, and then you'll see guys like Ryan Sieg or Garrett Smithley or Kaz Gralla or Annette or Chastain. One of those guys could win a race. Boom. Each one of them could make the playoffs, or they could already lock themselves in in September, quite like how we saw last year at Road America, where Jeremy Clements won at Road America, which obviously, and I still say this too, nobody expected, even I didn't expect, Jeremy Clements to win a race, but it was one of those surprise wins that didn't really see that coming. But no, I really think like Annette, I mean, I'd probably say right now he's probably not one of the fastest junior motorsports guys, in my opinion. I mean, comparing to Justin Allgaier and Tyler Reddick and so forth and Sadler. But I would say that if Annette can run consistent the next couple races, he could get himself into the top 12. Even though Spencer Gallagher is going to be out of that top 12 because he's not running. But anyways, but yeah, honestly, all I could just say is we could see all four of the junior motorsports guys make the playoffs again, just like what we saw last year. But if Annette wants to make the playoffs, like he has to show me that he's a championship driver, and I really want to see him win a race sometime soon.
Oh, there's no question about it. Michael Annette has the talent. He just has to have the combination of talent and equipment to get to victory lane. But the moment you've all been waiting for, the moment I've been waiting for, is let's break down the Xfinity average finish of the week. Going into this race, Corey's lock was Kyle Busch. He finished 8th. His sleeper was Cole Custer. He finished 7th. You add those up, it comes to 10. You divide that by 2. Corey's average finish was 5. Fair enough. Now, I picked Christopher Bell as my lock. He finished 3rd. I picked Brad Keselowski as my sleeper. He finished 1st. That's a total of 4. You divide that by 2. My average finish was 2. So your Xfinity champion of this week was me. So congratulations to me.
Congrats.
And none for Corey. Before we go into the Cup Series, I want to show you this little bit I got at a consignment shop recently. If you've listened to the Loki Jabroni show ever in the last, say, 16, 17 weeks, we've talked about Spam a lot. We've talked about how Spam is big in Hawaii. It's like the official meat of Hawaii for some reason. They have a 5-star restaurant dedicated to Spam. And one of the things I brought up on the Loki Jabroni show, because those guys are, well, Mike is a NASCAR fan somewhat, but Eddie, no such luck. I brought up Mike Wallace in the 91 Spam cars. So I found this. You liking this so far? The number 91 Spam car. I wanted to bring this, and I got to tell you the story real quick. We're at this consignment shop on Sunday, my stepdaughter's birthday. Happy birthday, Mad Dog. You deserve it. 13 years old. Oh my God, I'm the stepfather of a teenager. Just kill me now. And we go to this place called Dough Love, which is basically diabetes in a shack. It's cookie dough and ice cream, and they mix it up, and it's fantastic. If you're ever in this area, please go visit Dough Love in Colchester. Fantastic place. But the peanut butter cookie dough that everybody wants is not ready. It's going to be 20 minutes. Okay, let's walk about town. Found a consignment shop. I found a couple great things. If they're in reach, I can show you. And they are in reach. So I'm looking through this consignment shop. Angela's pointing things out to me. I'm pointing things out to her. So I found this particular beer mug that says Team NASCAR. Very cool. $2.50. Bought it. Sight unseen. I got to have it. Then I saw this just above it. It is the Rusty's Last Call pint glass. And you guys know, not only am I a huge Miller Lite fan, I am a huge Rusty Wallace fan. Always will be till the day I die. Rusty could wreck my mom on the freeway, and I'm still going to be a Rusty Wallace guy. You can see it right up here. Rusty Wallace. He's the bomb. So I got those things, and I saw that car. And I took the picture. I sent it to Mike and Eddie, and I said, right here at a consignment shop, I thought you guys would get a kick out of this. Eddie comes back with, oh, that's cool. How much? I sent him back a message. $6.99. Did you buy it? No, I did not. You better get your ass back in there. That's perfect. We have to have that in that Highland Underground studio. Okay, peer pressure, Jones. I'm going back in. I bought the car. I bought his argument, hook, line, and sinker. Bought the car. I'm glad to have it. The official meat sponsor of the Loki and Jabroni Show and the C&J Speedway Review is Spam, the number 91, Mike Wallace. He'll never replace Harambe as our official mascot, but Eddie was right. We needed the car.
Yeah.
Now, we go on to the longest race of the year, and this was, if you're a motorsports fan, this past Sunday was your carnival. It was your Christmas. It was your Valentine's Day. It was your birthday. It was everything rolled into one. And congratulations to not only Will Power for winning the Indy 500, but then there was the Monte Carlo race. Don't remember who won. But I watched that race. Go ahead.
It was Daniel Ricciardo who won the F1 race in Monaco.
Congratulations. But this race, the Coca-Cola 600, gave us two memorable historic moments. Not only the winner was Kyle Busch, who has the distinction of being the only Cup driver to win on every track on the Cup Series he's ever competed in. But it also gave us the first ever time. Yes, I haven't drank myself to death. I haven't committed suicide. I haven't lost my love. Look, I'm still wearing the Kevin Harvick gear right now. The first ever time in 1,089 races over 3 series that Kevin Harvick has officially been scored in last since he has run on the 3 major NASCAR series. But the one thing I'm going to say before I hear what you have to say is Kyle Busch has done what Kyle Busch does every time he's won this season, much like every time Kevin Harvick has won this season, and it is going to be a 2-party system going into November. My opinion, yours as well. I've heard you say it. This is a Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick world we're living in 2018. He dominated, just absolutely owned the competition. No ifs, no ands, and completely no buts.
Absolutely. I mean, there's like literally no question like on this whatsoever. And you look at that race on Sunday night, that 18 car pretty much put a whooping on almost everybody. I mean, won all the 4 stages. Nobody could even touch him. In fact, like, once that car was out in clean air, the second place guy was only like 4 or 5 seconds behind. And, everybody else was like trying to race for second place. And then you see Kyle Busch getting all these guys a lap down and so forth whatsoever. But you talk about the Coca-Cola 600, like, yes, it is the longest race of the season, but the thing is that this race, a lot of things change because, you go from day to night, the track's going to change quite a bit. And then once we get to the nighttime, then you're going to see the cars, speed up, you're going to see a lot of fast lap times and so forth. And you're going to see some guys, run pretty well up at the front too. But I want to look back, as you look at Martin Truex Jr. I mean, yeah, don't count him out in the mix either, because I still think that 78 team is also going to be in the hunt to win this championship as well. And not to mention Harvick, I still think he's going to have a shot to win the championship too. But somebody was telling me today, and I was actually listening on the XM radio this morning on the XM Speedway, and I guess there was a question that was saying like, oh, should these races get lowered down? Like, should these races get like for instance, like when Pocono had like 500 miles, they went down to 400 miles. Like, should the Coca-Cola 600 be extended to like 500 miles or maybe like 500 kilometers and whatnot? I pretty much say this. Like, I would say you keep the 600. You keep all the races, like the Daytona 500, the Southern 500. Keep them at 500 miles. I'm sorry. But Dave Moody actually kind of said this today. He said that if Martinsville Speedway would go from 500 miles to 400 miles, I would have no problem with it whatsoever. But I'd probably say this, like, the 600, I mean, yeah, it was mostly the Kyle Busch show, no question about it. But other than that, I thought it was a great race. And, we're going to see a lot out of the 18 car this year. And not to mention, once Kyle Busch retires, I could see him probably putting up a lot of records. Like, think about it. He was the youngest driver to win. He's the all-time wins leader in the Xfinity Series. The Truck Series, he's only 1 win behind Ron Hornaday on the all-time wins list. And right now, you look at it, he's only like 185 wins in all 3 series, and he's only like 15 wins away from tying Richard Petty's all-time wins list at 200. Now,
Right.
do I think it's possible? I mean, it is possible, like depending on how many more wins he can rack up from now until November. But I would say that if he gets to 200, that's going to be the biggest day in NASCAR that nobody has ever accomplished. Nobody has ever witnessed since God, like 1984, the last time when Richard Petty won his 200 race. Nobody has accomplished that feat of winning 200 races as a driver. I mean, David Pearson came close, when he was 105 wins, but yet again, nobody can't pull off the 200. And I really think, Kyle Busch is going to be that guy that gets to 200 wins, and not to mention could also get, be the wins leader in all 3 series.
Here's where I throw a flag.
All right.
In Richard Petty's day, there's 2 things I want to mention. One, the Cup Series was exponentially longer. There were dozens more races. We have a 36 race schedule now. I think they're running 44, whatever. But there wasn't a Truck Series for Richard Petty to race on. He did that in the Grand National Series, which became the Busch Series, which became the Nationwide Series, which became the Xfinity Series, which in 2 years is probably going to become the Smucker's Jelly Series. Now, then you have the Winston Cup Series, which was forever, which became the Nextel Cup, which became the Sprint Cup, which is now the Monster Energy Cup. Richard Petty did it in 2 divisions. Kyle's did it in 3. So I'm not throwing a flag on Kyle's ability. I'm throwing a flag on the competition. It's easy to go down 2 steps to the Truck Series and beat guys that are coming up. It is also harder to do what Petty did. Much like I say about Dale Earnhardt, when he had 74 wins on 76. Thank you. 76 wins on the Cup Series. I don't know how many he had on lower series, but there's a guy that would drive the hell out of the car to do it. I'm not throwing a flag on Kyle Busch's ability. If he reaches 200, fantastic. Is he better than Petty? That's what I'm throwing a flag on.
Yeah, see, I think, and I'm probably not going to compare him to Richard Petty at all because, let's be honest, Petty has won 7 championships and 7 Daytona 500s. Kyle Busch only has 1 championship, and then you add another championship in the Xfinity Series as well. But, but let's not to mention, like, when he first started coming into NASCAR, I think it was like 2004. Like,
yes,
I knew that, he was going to have a lot of talent, and I knew that he was going to be fast and win races and championships and so forth. You go to Hendrick, I mean, not really the best few years and so forth. And then, next thing you know, once he went to Joe Gibbs Racing, that's when he really turned up the lights. And from there on, he started winning races. He started winning, championships. And not to mention, he has his own truck team, which, of course, I'd say one of the best teams there is. And he's brought up a lot of great drivers that have moved up. Without question. Has brought up a lot of great drivers to the Xfinity Series as of right now. But you look at Kyle Busch's results, like statistic-wise, it's like literally ridiculous. But then yet again, he's putting up a lot of numbers. And, honestly, all I can just say is, it's gonna pretty much be very interesting to see how many wins he can rack up from now until the time he retires. But yet again, like there's just no arguing the fact that, whenever Kyle Busch is out there, like, you put him in the Xfinity car or a truck or a Cup car, he's just going to flat out drive the wheels out of it and win the race.
Oh, we said that 2 weeks ago that, you put Kyle Busch on a lawnmower and he's going to beat the snot out of whoever's around him. To Kyle Busch, fantastic. Congratulations. You are the first ever driver ever. Not the great Jimmy Johnson, not the great Jeff Gordon, not the great Dale Earnhardt. And I'm not saying that to be rude. I'm saying that because those guys are Hall of Famers, or in Jimmy Johnson's case, future Hall of Famer, to complete this feat. Now, I want to go back to Kevin Harvick just for a brief second, and this is going to be the comedy moment of the show. First ever last place finish in nearly 1,100 races over 3 series. There's only one way in my opinion, one way. Look, the 4 car started in second to last because they failed inspection 3 times. Car chief suspended, gone, not going to happen. Harvick gets in that car. I'm listening to the scanner in my ear at the Memorial Day party held by the great Baldini, Mark Azarju. Thank you again, Mark, for another great party. We're going to get Corey down eventually to experience one of these parties. But I'm listening to the scanner in my ear, and Harvick's like, this is too much fun. This is easy. It took him 50-plus laps to get to the top 10. He was in 4th when he wrecked. There's only one way that 4-car would come in first this past weekend, and I'm going to show you real quick. You see that gorgeous gentleman right there? If he was driving, he would have been in victory lane. I love that picture. That was taken in Charlotte in 2015. That's the comedy moment of the night. You can't, whatever. The tires go, the engine goes, etc. You can't control it. Harvick finishes last. No big deal. You know what? Life goes on. I don't have a gun to my head. I'm not drinking whiskey until my nose bleeds and my temples explode. It is what it is. And as a Yankee fan, here in Red Sox country, you can't win them all. I understand that. But I'm going to break down real quick the top 10 and the notables from the Coca-Cola 600. Once again, tip of the hat. I'm doing it right now. Write it on your calendar. I'm tipping my hat. Kyle Busch, you owned this race. 370-plus laps led. You can't deny Kyle Busch's dominance. Finished first. Martin Truex second. Denny Hamlin third. Brad Keselowski, who had troubles early, led for a couple laps, had troubles again, and battled his way back to 4th. Jimmy Johnson, who, by the way, 36 races since we won, Jimmy. What are you going to do? Sorry, Jimmy Johnson fan, you finished 5th. Jamie Murray 6th. Kyle Larson 7th. Kurt Busch 8th. Alex Bowman 9th. And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. rounds out the top 10. Here come your notables. Chase Elliott finishes 11th. He had a really good race, but again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. There are others that are going to make victory lane before Chase Elliott does. Clint Bowyer had a very respectable run in 12th. Daniel Suarez 15th. Bubba Wallace 16th. Matt Kenseth, another great showing for him, 17th. Let's go down the list. Joey Logano, disappointing, 22nd. We have Austin Dillon caught up in some problems early on in 34th. The Thug, Ryan Newman, 35th. Ryan Blaney, another guy who got caught up in some trouble, 36th. And rounding out the garbage was Kevin Harvick in dead last in 40th. Corey, give me your happy and give me your sad.
So my happy would definitely have to go to Jimmy Johnson. Another top 5 for that 48 team, but then yet again, I really want to see some speed. I want to see some improvement out of this team from now until September. And I probably say, after finishing 5th on Sunday night, I said, okay, this team has it right now, but they really need to show some improvement. And, like I said, I think this is probably going to be like a hit and miss type of year, whether if Jimmy's going to win a race or not. But honestly, all I can just say is, great run for the 48 team. And my sad would definitely have to go to Ryan Blaney. This is a 1 car that I really thought was going to contend for the win. If not, probably finish 2nd. And then once that engine let go, I just said, wow, I just can't believe it, And he was one of the fast forwards, that qualified pretty good and ran near the front. And, unfortunately, an engine failure took him out of the race. But honestly, I could just say this, I really think Blaney's going to win a race this year with no question.
Absolutely. My happy is going to go to the 6th place finisher, Jamie Murray. Always a threat. He had a little bit of problem early on in the race in the first 2 stages. And again, the Coke 600 was broken into 400 lap stages. Unlike other races, which are broken into 3 stages, this is the one race of the year that were broken into 4. Corey, stop yawning. I will punch you in the butt the next time I see you. If you yawn again, I'm just going to come through this. It's unprofessional. Anyway, Jamie McMurray, I thought, had a really good car underneath him. Did he have a Kyle Busch car? Did he have a Martin Truex car? Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski? No. but he had a car that could contend. This was a race that Jamie McMurray can take with him and say, you know what? We're going forward, and we are going to win a race this season. Mark my words. Jamie McMurray will find victory lane in 2018 before Chase Elliott. That's the third driver I've said that about, and guess what? I'm going to be right. And all of you are going to hate me, but that's okay. That's what I'm here for. I'm the hatred. He's the love. My sad, you know what? Wah, wah, wah. It's Kevin Harvick. Wah, wah, wah. Had a rocket underneath him. Let's forget the fact that he failed inspection 3 times. He finishes second to. He starts. Sorry, second to last. He cuts his way through the field in 50 laps. He's in the top 10. Then he's in, I think, 5th. When he crashes, the tire blows. He's up in the wall, and his day is done. That should be indicative of what this Stewart-Haas team, whether you're the 4, the 14, the 10, or the 41, this is what Stewart-Haas brings to the table. Am I being a homer? Yes, just a little bit. But I'm also objective. And to watch Kevin Harvick weave through that field and have the scanner in my ear and hear him say, this is fun. This is what this sport is all about. It's got to be my sad. If he doesn't cut that tire, we may be talking about a slightly different finish. Am I saying Kyle Busch wouldn't have won? No, because Kyle Busch had a rocket from the word go. But we may be talking about Kevin Harvick in the top 5 versus Kevin Harvick being in 40th. That's my sad.
Yeah, I'd probably say, of course, I think Harvick, could have had a second place car, but then yet again, this team has been pretty fast when it comes to the mile and a half this year. And, and I look at Harvick, I mean, yeah, you fail 3 times in inspection. Of course, it happens. But like I said, NASCAR officials are taking a really hard look, once, they're sanding down these cars, they're making adjustments on it. And then once, the laser lights hit red, which is the no good part, that's when the officials will say, all right, take it back, do it again, and then come back through the line and so forth. But,
right.
But, I look at Harvick, I mean, right now his average finish right now is a 10.3. So, again, not too bad. But, you look at Kyle Busch's average record right now, it's a 7.9. 7.9. Unbelievable.
But here, temper it with this. California, Kevin Harvick has a problem. He finishes way low. And then in Charlotte this week, he has a problem, finishes dead last.
Yeah.
If those problems don't happen, that average finish goes up. Kyle Busch this year has the horseshoe that Jimmy Johnson talked about and Kevin Harvick has talked about straight up his rear end. He is avoiding trouble. And that's what it takes, avoiding trouble. Kyle Busch has been a master this year at avoiding trouble, and that's why his average finish is in the top 10. It's in, 7.5 you said?
7.9.
Okay, fair enough. You avoid trouble, you get that great average finish, you get those victories. Look at it this way. There's been 13 races on the schedule so far. Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick amass 9 of them. 9. Think about that, guys. This is a 2-world order. Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch. Coming down in November, when we get into talking about the playoffs, for the first time, our full season as the C+J Speedway review, there's going to be a lot of talk about who's going to have bad luck first. And when the bad luck happens, can they rebound? I see both of these teams being winners in the first part, the second part, and the third part. And going into Miami, it's going to be a Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick world.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no question about it. But, you look at the playoffs this year. I mean, it's going to be a lot different than what it was, the last couple of years. Because if you think about this, you got Las Vegas to start off, which, of course, Kevin Harvick won.
Correct.
Then you have Richmond, which, of course, Kyle Busch won.
Correct.
Then you go to the elimination race at Charlotte. Not only it's going to be not the oval, but it's going to be the Roval.
The Roval.
Now that one is going to be very interesting to see who comes out of that, a winner, and then who pretty much avoids bad luck whatsoever. But also, I'm going to be keeping my eye out, on the 2 road course races this year at Sonoma and Watkins Glen, on how the 18 and the 4 do on the road courses, which, of course, Harvick's won a couple, then Kyle Busch has won a couple as well. Now you look at the second round. So you got, what is it? I think it's Dover, the start of the second round. Yeah, correct. So you got Dover, which, of course, Kevin Harvick won. Then you got Talladega, which, of course, both of those guys weren't in the mix and so forth. And then you got Kansas, which, of course, Kevin Harvick won. Now you go to the next round. You got Martinsville, which, of course,
Clint Boyer
won. Then you got Texas, which, of course, Kyle Busch won, and Kevin Harvick was behind. Now you go to Phoenix. So Phoenix, the start-finish line is going to be right where the dogleg is going to be. So that one's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. Now, I really say that the Roval and the second-to-last race of Phoenix, those ones are going to be, the wild card races, because you go back to Phoenix in November, the start-finish line is going to be at the dogleg, and I can tell you this, we're going to see a lot of fantastic finishes, including this one in November, and let me tell you, I think things are going to play out, a lot differently whatsoever. Then, of course, Phoenix, which, of course, Harvick won as well, it's going to be very interesting to see how he can pull that one off. And then, of course, you got the Homestead. Truex won last year and then the championship. So, which, of course, you have to win the race to win the championship, and that's what we've seen the last couple of years. But, honestly.
Technically, yes, you do have to finish first. You have to win the race. We have to finish above the other three competitors. And that's the only thing I'm throwing a flag on. You can finish second and win the championship as long as the guy ahead of you who wins the race isn't a championship contender. But the last couple years, we have seen Harvick win Homestead. Then you saw Johnson win Homestead. Then you saw Busch win. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was Harvick, then Busch, then Johnson, and then last year was Truex.
Yeah.
It just seems that last race of the year, they're going balls out, pardon my language. You're going, butt over tea kettle to win this race because you want to prove that you actually deserve it. Every year since this has started, Harvick, Busch, Johnson, Truex, all win the final race, all prove that they deserve this cup. I love the chase now. I love stage racing. I think it's great. It goes back to our roots. But the wild card in all of this is obviously the Charlotte Roval. Phoenix, it's a no-brainer. You put Harvick on a bicycle, he's going to win that race. He's a 9-time Phoenix winner. You put him in a car, you put him in a Pinto, and he's going to be a contender. The Roval is going to be the be-all, end-all deciding factor of that championship run.
There's no question.
Okay, so let's break down the points as they stand right now coming out of the Coca-Cola 600. Kyle Busch is leading the way, 4 wins at 573. Joey Logano second, 1 win, 506. Kevin Harvick, 5 wins at 485. Brad Keselowski yet to see victory circle, but he will soon, 437. Martin Truex is in 5th, 1 win at 430. Kurt Busch, no wins at 429 in a virtual tie with Denny Hamlin, same 429, no wins. Clint Boyer is in 8th with 1 win at 421. Kyle Larson, 382. Now, again, I'm going to bring this back. That's a 40-point difference between 8th and 9th and no wins. That's 9th place. Eric Almirola, 376, no wins. 11th, Ryan Blaney, 375, no wins. Jimmy Johnson, 12th. Again, guys, absorb this. Get this into your mind. This is a 7-time champion. Jimmy Johnson, 12th, no wins, 327. Eric Jones, 13th, 314, no wins. Alex Bowman, 14th, 299, no wins. Chase Elliott, 15th, 296, no wins. In a virtual tie with Ricky Stenhouse, 296, no wins. Now, here comes the caveat. Austin Dillon sits in 19th at 244 with 1 win, and that immediately puts him into championship contention. Now, I'm going to read the others. Paul Menard, 17th, 263. Daniel Suarez, 18th, 245. Jamie McMurray, 20th, 231. Obviously, Austin Dillon moves up, so that kind of bumps Stenhouse down. So you have Stenhouse, Menard, Suarez, McMurray. I asked you last week. I asked you the week before. I asked you the week before. I'm going to ask you again. Of those names, Stenhouse, Menard, Suarez, McMurray, has your opinion changed? Who's going to be the sleeper that gets into the playoff contention?
I'm probably going to say the sleeper on this one is definitely going to be Jamie McMurray because, you look at it. I mean, he had a good run at Charlotte, and this is a driver where he's run consistent, but then yet again, could probably be, the second better Ganassi driver than what Kyle Larson's doing right now. And let's be honest, Kyle Larson, has racked up a couple wins, at Ganassi the last couple of years. But yeah, you look at Jamie McMurray. I mean, the only tracks that he is good on would definitely have to be the super speedways. And I'd say that if he can get a win at Daytona in July, that could rack him in the playoffs without a doubt. But honestly, I'd say this right now, let's say if he's racing the next couple weeks, from now until Chicago, not Chicago, now until Indianapolis, and you see a lot of these guys have problems. We could possibly see McMurray point himself in. Without any question. But, I mean, I really do like McMurray. I really do. But I'm hoping that, the one team can get up on their feet.
Absolutely. And he was going to be my pick as well. Jamie McMurray knows how to win at every one of these tracks. Whether he's won there or not, he has the talent, the knowledge, and the experience to make it happen. Going forward to this next weekend, which we'll talk about in just a few minutes, or a few seconds, as it were, Jamie Murray is that guy that could change the face of the playoffs and has done it a couple of times over the years. So lots of credit on that one. Again, I'm looking at who's going to get bumped out. Now, this is the first time I've asked this question. Of those guys, let's say 10th with Almirola, 11th Blaney, 12th Johnson, 13th Jones, 14th Bowman, 15th Chase Elliott, and 16th Stenhouse. Who, in your mind right now, doesn't make the playoffs?
See, I probably say the only guy who I think will not make the playoffs this year, I'm going to have to take a stab at this one. I'm going to have to say Alex Bowman.
Wow, we are on lockstep today because he was my pick as well. There's just something about Bowman. He gets up front. He's running great. Something happens. Rookie mistake. He wiggles back. There's just something about Alex Bowman I can't get behind.
No question.
Okay, so we go forward this weekend, and I mentioned it last year, and this is where Corey takes over. My opinion, the most boring, let's watch paint dry, let's watch grass grow, let's watch our beards grow race of the season, which comes out of Pocono. Boring. But you know what? I'm still going to watch. I'm still going to be involved. I have to, because now I have a NASCAR podcast that back then, Pocono race, week off. I can mow the lawn. I can go out. I can do this. I can do that. I can't do that anymore. And you guys have made this happen. So, Pocono, the race that I hate. Corey, tell us who's running. Tell us the divisions, and we'll pick our locks, our sleepers, and in the Cup Series, we'll pick our hopefuls.
All right, so we got the Xfinity guys racing on Saturday, and yes, this is the, I believe, third year that the Xfinity Series is racing at Pocono. So the race will be at 1 o'clock Eastern Time on FS1, and of course, if you guys have Sirius XM Radio, it is on Channel 90. And Chris, you're gonna love this. So the radio guys this weekend is gonna be MRN,
the voice of NASCAR.
There you go.
Thank you very much. You saw my post earlier.
Yes.
Thank you.
And so looking at the entry list, so there are going to be 2 Cup guys that are going to be in the field on Saturday. Yes, that's right. 2 Cup drivers that are going to be in the field this weekend. Kyle Busch is going to be in the 18 car driving the Comcast Salute to Service Juniper Toyota. I can't pronounce that one right. And then Paul Menard is going to be making his Xfinity debut in the Team Penske car driving the 22 LTI printing Ford. Now, this one, guys, you might want to take a look at Paul Menard. I I really think this guy can have a really good run on Saturday. If not, could possibly win the race, because I could look back at Indianapolis last year, could have won the race, of course, with that new aero package and so forth whatsoever. But anyways, those are the 2 Cup guys that are going to be running the race on Saturday. So other notables for Xfinity, you have Cole Custer in the 00. You have Elliott Sadler. You have Matt Tiff. Shane Lee is going to be back in the 3 car for Richard Childress Racing. You have Michael Annett, Justin Allgaier, Tyler Reddick, who already has a win at Daytona, Ryan Truex, Austin Cindric driving the 12 car, Fitzgerald, Gliders, Kids Ford, Ryan Reed. You also have Brandon Jones, Christopher Bell, Daniel Hemrick, Chase Elliott. Oh yeah, so I forgot to mention there's only 3 Cup guys in the field, so that's my bad on that part.
Oh.
So I forgot to mention that one. So yes, guys. So instead of 2, there is going to be 3, which of course Chase Elliott is in the 23 car for the 2nd straight week for GMS Racing. You also have John Hunter Nemechek in the 42 car, who is going to be making his Pocono debut at Xfinity. You have Chase Briscoe in the 60. You have Kaz Gralla driving the Fury race cars Ford in the 61 team. You have BJ McLeod, Morgan Shepherd, and the last but not least, Jeff Green.
Okay. I'm going to go with my lock and my sleeper first. And the one guy who needs a win, let's be honest, he doesn't need a win, but he needs a win, is the guy leading the point standings. So my lock this week is going to be Elliott Sadler. He needs to lock himself into these playoffs in the Xfinity Series to make himself a true contender. Yes, he's leading the points. Yes, he is easily, if I'm doing my math right, 50 points above Christopher Bell, who is in 2nd and has a win. But if Elliott Sadler wants to lock himself into these playoffs and not have to worry about getting in on points, he needs to win this race. And again, it's Pocono. Oh, God, I hate to say this. It's the one track on the circuit that I just absolutely hate. Even in the days where I would play the video game, me and my buddy who works for NASCAR right now would get together a couple times a week and we would trade off. We drove the same car. When it came to Pocono, I'm like, dude, I don't want anything to do with this race. You take it. He was like, oh, well, you take the road courses then. Fantastic. I'll drive the road courses. You drive Pocono. Same, different, whatever. I don't care. I really don't care about Pocono. I don't. But because of this podcast, I'm going to watch Pocono with a little bit of a jaundiced eye. I'm going to watch it with a lot of hatred. But I'm picking Elliott Sadler as my lock. My sleeper is going to be a guy who has a win on the series. Excuse me. Choking out my own spit. Was that a Talladega Nights deleted reference?
Yeah.
Good granny. Sorry, guys. Unprofessional. I yelled at Corey earlier for being unprofessional. Now I'm unprofessional. If he wants to cement himself as a true contender, my sleeper is Justin Allgaier. He needs this race. After the sadness of Charlotte, this is an opportunity for Justin Allgaier to really make him the favorite to win this Xfinity Series championship.
There's no question about it. So my lock for me would definitely have to be Kyle Busch because, let's be honest, as I said before, you put him in a vehicle, he wins in almost everything. But this is pretty much the Kyle Busch in the Xfinity Series that I've pretty much witnessed, and I'm kind of like, a little bit awed by it. I'm thinking, okay, he's won an Xfinity 91 times, but he just hasn't been that dominant this year. And then, of course, you look back last week, gets into a record of his own, pretty much not in his own doing, but yet again, tries to make it 3 wide, going to the dog leg at Charlotte, cuts the grass, and next thing you know, spins out whatsoever and so forth. But I really think this will be the weekend where, the 18 team will be back up on his feet, could possibly get up to 100, which I don't think he will. But yet again, of course, you look at Kyle Busch, he's probably the only guy in Xfinity that I think is going to be the one to beat on Saturday. If not, maybe somebody else in the field would. So my sleeper, I'm going to take a look at Kaz Gralla. After coming off at a 10th place finish last week at Charlotte, I'm really interested to see how this Fury Race Cars team could actually do. And let's be honest, this is a new team, especially for Gralla. They've never been in this Xfinity series before, and to pull off a 10th place finish, I mean, it's really impressive. But I really want to see more out of the 61 team. And like I said, when we go to the road courses in August, that's where I really think Kaz Gralla is going to be the one to watch.
Fair enough, and that's a great pick.
Yeah.
Again, hate to say it, I really could give a rat's butt about Pocono. I just think, there are other racetracks. You could bring the Cup to Iowa. You could bring the Cup to IRP or ORP or whatever RP in Indianapolis, right outside of the Brickyard. There are a million other tracks you can go to that are more exciting than Pocono. Pocono is basically like watching the toilet spin as you flush it. I am not a fan of Pocono, never will be. When we go to Pocono the second time, you're going to hear me give the same speech. I'm sorry if you've ever been to Pocono. I'm sorry if you think it's an exciting race. I'm sorry, but I'm not. I, Chris Burns, C&J Speedway Review, do not like Pocono. Having said that, what, Corey, go ahead. You were going to make a point.
I mean, before then, there was a time at Pocono, where we've seen a lot of hard hits throughout the years. And back then, it was mostly grass and then pretty much steel guardrail whatsoever. And I'd probably say one Pocono moment that I really want to share to everybody. If you remember the race back in 2010, they were racing down, the long backstretch and whatever turn it is possible, whatever. So
around the tunnel turn?
So it was near the tunnel turn.
Okay.
So it was near the tunnel turn. What happened was Kurt Busch got into a wreck. And what happened was somebody tried to avoid the wreck, and I believe it was the 19 Elliott Sadler at the time. So, and there was a couple angles at the racetrack, you couldn't even see the other car crash, but what happened was let's say this is Elliott Sadler's car. So you see Kurt Busch's car kind of spinning and getting back up his feet. Now you see this one car, Elliott Sadler. So now he's spinning towards the guardrail. So as soon as he spins towards the guardrail, then you see this big hit, and I think the car kind of jolted up in the air, and then you look at the car afterwards, it was literally destroyed. The engine came out of the car. So then that's when NASCAR said, okay, we have to do a lot of safety innovations at this racetrack. So what they did was, they got rid of the grass. They pretty much got rid of almost everything in between. Well, they had to restart over. So they got rid of the grass. They repaved an apron. They put safer barriers all around the racetrack. And not to mention, they also put fencing, right along the tunnel turn and everything else in between, because there was another one in 2010 where Casey Kane crashed and he almost left the racetrack, and that wouldn't be good from there on out. But you look at Pocono. I mean, yes, it is a fast racetrack. Especially when you're going down that long straightaway at 205 miles an hour, and everybody's all making passes in between and so forth. But let's remember this: this was also the track where Bobby Allison almost lost his life because he crashed going into the tunnel turn. Not even before they got to the first lap. And, I'd probably say this, when they had 500 miles of Pocono, yes, I really thought, okay, it was a little bit boring, 200 laps at a tricky triangle track. I really thought, they could have done more and everything else in between. So the track president at the time, I forget his name. I literally forget his name, but he said, we will always have 500 miles races at Pocono, blah, 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 and so ever. So then once the then owner passed away and then the new one took over, so he took a look at it and said, okay, we should probably change our races a little bit. So that is how he changed it down from 500 miles to 400 miles. Now, I really think it's good, and I really think 400 miles needs to stay and all that stuff. But honestly, all I could just say this, whether Pocono races get either 2 or 1 within the next couple of years, I'm okay with it.
Okay, fair enough. And for me, it's just paint drying.
Yeah.
It really is just paint drying. So tell us where we're at with the Cup on Sunday.
Okay, so Cup race. There is no name, but the race will be Sunday, 2 o'clock Eastern time on FS1. Sirius XM Channel 90, and don't forget, is on MRN.
The voice of NASCAR.
There you go. Home of the Godfather himself.
Yes,
But
sir.
So anyways, we're looking at the entry list. So we got Jamie McMurray in the 1 car. We have Pocono winner Brad Keselowski. Kevin Harvick, who is yet to win a race on the Tricky Triangle. Hopefully he can probably pull that one off. Pocono winner Matt Kenseth. Chase Elliott, who his father has won, I believe, 5 times at the racetrack. Pocono winner Denny Hamlin. Pocono winner from last year, Ryan Blaney. Ty Dillon, Clint Boyer, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Pocono winner Kyle Busch, Daniel Suarez, Eric Jones, Paul Menard, Pocono winner Joey Logano, William Byron, Pocono winner Ryan Newman, Chris Buescher, Michael McDowell, Pocono winner Kurt Busch, Kyle Larson, Bubba Wallace, AJ Allmendinger, Pocono winner Jimmy Johnson, and Pocono winner Martin Truex Jr., Alex Bowman, and Pocono winner Casey Kane.
Okay. You get to lead this one off. Give us your lock. Give us your sleeper. And because it's a cup race, give us your hopeful.
All right. So my lock on this one is definitely got to be Kevin Harvick because, he's never won here before. And honestly, I really think he could rebound this weekend. And not to mention, I think the Fords are going to be fast again without question as usual. Because let's be honest, they have been fast all year. And I'm hoping that, Harvick can get back up on his feet. And, let's be honest. They've won almost everywhere this year, but to win a Pocono on Sunday, that'll be pretty good for that Ford team. So my sleeper is going to have to be Bubba Wallace. Now, last year he made his Pocono debut when he was driving for King Richard Petty. So now the next year around, he's in the 43 car. But I really want to see some improvements out of this team. And I'm hoping that, Bubba can have a good run this weekend, and I really think he can. He did decent last year, not really too bad until he got the full-time ride gig and so forth. But yeah, Bubba's going to be a one I'm going to be keeping my eye on this weekend. Now, my hopeful, I'm going to go with a guy who has won a Pocono a couple times, and I'm going to go with the 11 of Denny Hamlin.
Hamlin, okay.
Yep.
All right, why?
He's won a Pocono a couple times, and, he's led like almost, a ton of laps, the last couple of years. And I really think, this is a team where I think has to win this weekend. They haven't got off to a good start. Well, kind of got off to a decent start. But then yet again, I really think he's one of those guys that knows Pocono really well. In fact, when he went there as a rookie back in 2006, he pretty much won both races from the pole. And I thought, gee, a rookie has never won a Pocono before, but then yet again, he pretty much just figured out that track really well. And then, of course, he got to know how to race those like racing simulator games, and pretty much one of them was pretty much the track. But I really think, this is going to be another one of the JGR teams that I think is going to reach victory lane this weekend.
That's a fantastic pick. Now, I'm going to go in a different direction. My lock is going to be someone that's won at Pocono before, and actually, more than anybody, needs a win. Watch my face when I say this. Guys, okay. Mark this date down on your calendar. Needs a win. My lock is Jimmy Johnson. The last Pocono race I watched from beginning to end was a Jimmy Johnson win. And I really think that this is a track that Jimmy Johnson is going to break that glass ceiling in 2018 and make his way to the top and lock himself into the playoffs and make himself a contender. Is he a contender now? Sure. Let me get the list back. He's in 12th right now. Yes, you're a contender, but unless you lock yourself in, you're just another guy fighting for points. This is a week where Jimmy Johnson can really extend himself in 2018 and make himself a believable, viable contender to win going forward and be a threat. I know for years past, for the last 10 years, we talk about Jimmy Johnson being a threat, and 7 times he's been a champion. So that leaves 3 seasons where he just didn't get the job done. 7 out of 10 is not bad. Consider that in baseball, all you have to have is a 350 average, which means you failed 650 times out of 1,000 to get to the Hall of Fame. Jimmy Johnson is that guy. My sleeper is going to be Brad Keselowski. There's a guy who is up front, and he's just not quite there yet. But I really believe he has something at this track. He's gonna be. Oh, see, I'm at a loss for words now. This could be the track where, again, much like Jimmy Johnson, he breaks that glass ceiling, he gets that win, he gets his confidence back, he gets his groove, and you're going to see if Keselowski or Johnson wins this race, you're going to see them be in victory lane 2 or 3 more times. My hopeful, yes, I'm going Homer. I'm going Kevin Harvick. After a 40th place, last place finish, this is a place where he's won before and he can win again. Kevin Harvick can take that 4 car anywhere he wants. Bad tire at Charlotte, no big deal. Let's just build a car that can go to Pocono and can win the race, and let's make it happen. That's my hopeful, and that says a lot, guys. It's not my lock. It's not my sleeper. My hopeful is Kevin Harvick. But in my opinion, looking at the list and looking at, again, I hate Pocono. God, I can't tell you how much I hate Pocono. But I see Jimmy Johnson at the top of the list. And I know Skip Perry somewhere is out there smiling his ass off, singing the Jimmy Johnson song. And that's for you, Skip. And it's for me as well. I want to win the Cup average finish gimmick schnabitzfernum.com. I want to win it. But those are my picks.
All right.
All right. So, Corey, plug away. What do you got to sell for us this week?
Okay, so I'm just going to pretty much advertise the C+J Speedway review. So continue to follow us on Facebook and our YouTube page. So, and then also on Twitter, we are at CJ_Speedway, and Instagram, we are at CJ Speedway. And so for me, we also want to mention congratulations to Will Power on winning the Indianapolis 500. And there was actually an article, I'd probably say not too long, today. I guess they said that Will is actually interested on running some NASCAR races, if I'm not correct. And all I can just say is, Will Power, if you're watching this right now, if you are interested on racing in NASCAR, I could just say, please, do it. If you're really interested, just do it. Either way, we will welcome you pretty much in open arms, without a doubt whatsoever.
Without question. That would be a guy I would love to see out there in a stock car. No offense to the Jimmy Johnsons, the Kevin Harvicks, the Kurt Busches, the Kyle Busches, anybody who's won a championship on this series. To see Will Power out there, basically, I can drive anything with a steering wheel and 4 wheels and get out there and be competitive. That would be fantastic. Now, if we go back to the Juan Pablo Montoyas or the Danica Patricks, which, let's be honest, not the most successful in the world, although Juan Pablo did win a road course, fantastic. Yay, yeah. Juan Pablo. Whatever. You also blew up a jet dryer. But one of my favorite Daytona moments ever. Will Power is one of those guys that you put him behind the wheel of a stock car, and he's going to find a way. If he doesn't win, he's going to be in the top 10. Give him good equipment. Give him a team that believes and will put the money into the equipment. Will Power could be a force for 1 race, 3 race, 5 race, whatever he wants to do. I would love to see Will Power inside of a stock car on the NASCAR series.
I mean, let's be honest. I look at Will Power. I mean, the only thing that I really think he's successful on is pretty much the road courses. And if you put him in a road course, let's say at Mid-Ohio, I would probably see him, dominate practice, start on the pole, lead laps, and pretty much win the race. And I can remember one time where, Montoya, this was his first year in NASCAR. They were racing down in Mexico in the Xfinity series, and he was racing with his then teammate at the time, Scott Pruitt. They got into the first corner, and I believe Juan tried to hit the brakes, and then he got into his teammate, and then pretty much, during the interviews, Pruitt said, "Oh, that was pretty much low, dirty driving, so ever." And Montoya said, "I tried to back out of the gas, but he pretty much came down too quick." But honestly, I look at these guys, that are coming from the open wheels, driving stock cars. Just remember, there has been guys that have, raced in NASCAR that have been successful, and then there has been guys that have come from the open wheels racing NASCAR that haven't done that good. And there's been guys like Tony Stewart, who has raced in open wheels, all of his life, that went to NASCAR, has won championships and won a championship as an owner, and look where he's at right now. But honestly, I'd say if Will does make the decision to race in the NASCAR, I think it'd be fantastic, and I can't wait to see him. Other than that, so guys, I don't know if you know this, but Saturday night, I am going down to C+J Speedway. And so as you guys know, Saturday night, the Wayland Modified Series is going to be down at C+J on Saturday night. So I want to say this is probably my first NASCAR race of the season, even though that I usually go up to New Hampshire once a year. But I was looking on the schedule, and I was looking on the modified schedule. So I noticed that the modifieds go down to C+J once a year, and I thought, I think I could probably pull that off, because I've never been there before. I've only watched the modifieds at New Hampshire, which honestly, the modifieds put a really great show at New Hampshire.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic.
And I figured to myself, if I can go to C+J or Thompson or Stafford or probably Lee, that'd be pretty much fantastic, because I know that NASCAR is only going to be racing once up in New Hampshire this year. But the good news is the modifieds are going to be racing at New Hampshire twice this year. So once in July, and then the other one in September. And not to mention, September 21st, the name of the race is going to be the Musket 250. So that's right, guys. September 21st, New Hampshire Motor Speedway. The Wayland Modified Series is going to have a 250-lap race. That's right, 250. I can't wait for that. I think it's going to be a really great show, especially you put them at New Hampshire. Fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. And now this is where, in my pimpage, I'm going to come out. I'm going to give my shout out of the week. I want to give a shout out to Jason Blue, who does work at Stafford Motor Speedway as the public address announcer. He is a huge NASCAR fan. He's been on our show, not about racing, but he's talked about Garth Brooks.
Oh yeah.
You'll have to go back and find, I want to say it was episode 39 on the Loki and Jabroni show. Jason will probably correct me. Doesn't matter. Jason's a huge NASCAR fan. We text often. The Facebook gimmick this past week was like, "Oh, look, Harvick crashed. Sorry, not sorry, whatever." I'm like, "Hey, man, can't win them all. I'm still watching the race. I'm still involved." Jason is probably, other than myself or you, of the people I know, one of the big NASCAR fans that makes this, what we do, viable, and makes it where if you like it, share it. If you know somebody who loves it, share it. Jason, tip of the hat to you. Keep doing what you do. And, he's a big Chase Elliott fan. Can't attest for taste. I'm sorry. You really can't. But he was a huge Jeff Gordon fan. I love this guy to death. He is a quality human being. And I want to give my weekly shout out to Jason. So, Jason Blue, you're out there. Thank you. Other than that, there's been a lot of controversy in the world, and last night on the Loki and Jabroni show, we covered a lot of it. Check out the Loki and Jabroni show. It was the flagship of what we do here. The Loki and Jabroni show, the C+J Speedway review, Loki's Gaming Corner, the Libertarian Focus, the Writer's Focus. It's all a part of this big family that we call the Focus Digital Network. Please check us out. Even if you check us out and you don't like it, but you know somebody who likes it, share it. I also want to mention, real quick, tomorrow, when we all wake up in the morning, is going to be producer Eddie Focus's birthday. So normally we would sing happy birthday, but today we're going to sing something different. She was afraid to come out of the water. Okay, that's an inside joke. You guys won't get it, but Corey got it. Eddie's vein is popping out of his forehead right now. Guys, if not for Eddie Focus, none of this happens.
Oh, man.
Happy birthday, Eddie, from the bottom of my heart. Since episode 4 of the Loki and Jabroni Show, when you first stepped in, to today with the C+J Speedway review, everything else that you do, Ed, from the bottom of my heart, I love you. You're my brother. I can't thank you enough. And now Corey's going to say something nice about Eddie. Having never met the man other than on video, Corey, give your dissertation on Eddie.
Eddie, I just want to wish you a happy birthday, and it was really, it was a real huge honor, like, to meet you, even though it was on FaceTime and so forth. And honestly, all I could just say is you do a really great job, you know, editing and producing and all the other stuff, pretty much like high tech wise and everything. And you know, you do a remarkable job, not only on this show, but on the Loki and Jabroni Show. And I can't thank you long enough. And Eddie, I just really want to see your reaction right now after that whole thing happened with that song and all that. You know, Chris, you're probably right. I think his vein is probably popping just a bit, but
you're probably right.
But
I can do it again.
But Chris, all I can just say is that song has been stuck in my head for weeks now. And then when I sang it, like, I think somewhere like a few weeks ago, I texted you. I said, darn it, Chris, you got that song stuck in my head now. Great job.
Okay, real quick, behind the scenes gimmick. When we're trying to get all this live and we're trying to get it to you guys, there'll be a pause and nobody says anything. And for whatever reason, the first time I did it, it was the first thing that popped into my head, and I sang that line. She was afraid to come out of the water, and nobody got it. I did it again the next week. And then I did it again the next week, and nobody got it. So I sent these guys the video of Brian Hyland, itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini, and then it all went to hell.
Yeah.
And it just became this running joke between all of us, and it's a labor of love. It's just something I do to break the monotony. We're all trying to get all this perfect for you guys, and when I do it, it's not to piss anybody off. It's just, it's a break in the monotony. And unfortunately, it's become where Corey has it in his head when he goes to work, and Eddie has it in his head wherever he goes. It's just too much fun.
Yeah.
Thank you, Eddie. Happy birthday. Happy, if I'm doing my math right, 41st birthday, Eddie Focus. Producer of the two best podcasts in New England, the Loki and Jabroni Show, the C+J Speedway Review. Thumbs up to you, my man. Thank you so much. And as we close out, I just want to tell you guys real quick, Team World Vision and Chad Hatfield needs your help. Go find Chad Hatfield on Facebook, give him a private message, ask him where you can donate to his cause. Chad Hatfield and Team World Vision are trying to raise money for countries that don't have access to clean water to get clean water. And as an added bonus, this November, Chad Hatfield is going to run the New York City Marathon, 26.2 miles, guys. As a part of Team World Vision, send him your love, whether it's $1, $5, $10, $50, your entire week's paycheck. Doesn't matter what it is. Give him your love. A more Christian guy I've never met in my life. He is committed to doing what he does, and I want you guys to open your hearts and your wallets to Chad Hatfield and Team World Vision. Look him up. He's in Indiana. Please, 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 please donate to his cause.
That's right.
For Corey, I'm Chris. behind the scenes, singing Itsy Bitsy Teeny Weeny Yellow Polka Dot Bikini is Eddie Focus. We have the C&J Speedway Review. We will see you next week recapping the most boring race in history, the Pocono Gimmick Schnabitz. I don't care what it is, but I'm going to be watching. Thank you, guys. We love you.
Good night.